Isabela Costa pressed her forehead to the oval window as the plane dipped beneath a haze of peach-colored clouds. Below, Dubai glittered like a mirage. Skyscrapers piercing the dawn, highways threading through endless dunes, the Persian Gulf flashing turquoise at the fringe. She felt 16 again, the year she'd left São Paulo's favelas for her first ballet scholarship, when the world had seemed impossibly large and her feet impossibly small. Back then she'd believed movement could heal anything. Tonight she wasn't so sure. 4 months of creative drought had sapped her confidence. Every pirouette felt mechanical, every routine tired. Yet the Emirati Cultural Exchange insisted she headline their gala. Fusion in motion. And her agent swore this trip would reignite her spark. So here she was. 30 hours without sleep, heart thrumming like a samba drum, chasing inspiration halfway across the planet. Passport control, luggage claim, chauffeured black SUV. Everything blurred until the city swallowed her. Towers of glass slid past, reflecting sunrise like molten metal. Billboards promised luxury she'd never imagined. Private islands, diamonds bigger than her knuckles, experiences beyond dreams. Isabela exhaled, fogging the tinted window. Back home, dreams were currency. Here they seemed mass-produced. The SUV slowed at a security gate crowned by bronze falcons. Nahyan Palace Cultural Wing, her driver announced, voice courteous, indifferent. Beyond manicured hedges rose white marble colonnades and date palms wrapped in fairy lights. Isabela stepped out, stretching road-stiff limbs, the desert air warm and faintly sweet with jasmine. A suited attaché whisked her inside, where cool marble floors echoed under her sneakers. She longed for a shower, maybe 8 hours of sleep, but protocol beckoned. The rehearsal studio occupied an airy annex overlooking a reflecting pool. Floor-to-ceiling windows invited the sunrise. Silk drapes fluttered like phantom dancers. A dozen Emirati musicians warmed up on oud and darbuka, soft scales looping through the hush. Isabela dropped her duffel, kicked off her shoes, and almost without thinking, rolled her shoulders, spine, hips. The floor felt different, less forgiving than the sprung which she was used to, but its chill grounded her. She closed her eyes, letting percussion guide her rib cage. Something inside unlocked, small, hesitant, and her body answered with a languid turn. Maybe, she thought, maybe this will work. A delicate throat clearing snapped her eyes open. Across the studio entrance, flanked by 2 discreet guards, stood a woman who did not belong to the real world. She wore an ivory abaya so fine the fabric shimmered. Gold thread traced stylized falcons along the cuffs. Beneath a loose shayla, chestnut hair spilled in artful waves, framing a face both soft and regal. High cheekbones, lithe brows, full lips tinted the color of wild dates. But it was her eyes, hazel flecked with amber, that rooted Isabela to the spot. They held curiosity, amusement, and something like awe. "Forgive me," the stranger said, accent rippling like glass over water. "I did not mean to interrupt. Your movement is breathtaking." She hesitated, as though tasting the right word. "Alive." Heat flared beneath Isabela's cheeks. Compliments from critics never felt this intimate. "Obrigada, thank you," she managed, brushing sweaty curls from her forehead. "I'm just warming up. Jet lag improvisation." The woman smiled, and the room seemed to tilt subtly toward her. "If that was improvisation, I look forward to the real thing." She stepped forward, guards hanging back, and extended a hand lighter than silk. "I am Layla bint Khalid al-Nahyan." Isabela swallowed. Princess Layla, the reclusive daughter of Sheikh Khalid, rumored equestrian champion, MIT graduate, unseen by tabloids for years. The gala's primary patron. Isabela wiped her palm on her leggings before clasping Layla's slender fingers. Isabela Costa, lead choreographer and, apparently, walking sleep-deprived disaster. Layla laughed, a subdued melodic sound, and Isabela's pulse tripped. "You hide exhaustion expertly. Now I have a small request, if it does not disrupt your process." She gestured toward the musicians. "May I watch your rehearsal later today? I promise discretion." Isabella's mouth went dry. Most sponsors watched from gilded balconies, not studio floors. Yet something in Layla's expression, yearning maybe, pushed her past caution. Of course, it would be an honor. Layla's gaze lingered, and for a heartbeat Isabela felt wholly seen, as if every fear and dream inside her chest lay visible beneath the princess's steady eyes. Then an aide whispered, reminding Layla of a meeting. She inclined her head. Until this afternoon then. Welcome to Dubai, Isabela Costa. With a final glance, she glided out, leaving the air tinged with jasmine and the faint echo of possibilities too dangerous to name. 8 hours later, Isabela stood on the mirrored floor, sweat trickling between her shoulder blades, string lights casting latticed shadows through the drapes. The musicians launched into a sizzling samba-khaleeji fusion. Darbuka beats tangled with cuica squeals. Isabela carved through space, body a conduit for mismatched rhythms, soles sliding, hips popping, arms slicing arcs of half-remembered capoeira. Mid-spin she caught sight of Layla at the doorway, alone, backlit by rose-gold twilight. The princess's veil was gone, hair cascading freely, gaze fixed and unwavering. Applause rang out as the number ended, but Isabela heard only the staccato of her own heart. The musicians drifted out. Isabela toweled her face, suddenly shy. Layla stepped closer, genuine wonder lighting her features. "You dance like fire meeting water," she whispered. "Opposites becoming one." Isabela laughed shakily. "Then I hope I don't evaporate before opening night." Layla's eyes softened. "Would you show me a step?" The question was tentative, childlike. Just one. Protocols, guards, headlines. Isabela should have refused. Instead she nodded, beckoning Layla onto the floor. Barefoot, the princess mirrored her stance, laughing when her abaya hem tangled. Isabela guided her. Shift weight, hip sway, arm flourish, until their palms met, fingers interlacing for balance. Electricity shot up Isabela's arm. Layla's breath hitched, surprise flashing across those hazel eyes. Neither moved away. In that charged silence, the palace around them receded. There was only sand-scented air, dimming light, two heartbeats tangling in a rhythm older than any drum. Conscious that one wrong word could shatter the moment, Isabela released Layla's hand and stepped back. "You learn fast, princessa." Layla exhaled slowly, smile trembling between delight and disbelief. "Thank you, Professora." A chime echoed down the corridor, dinner call. Obligation rushed in like cold air beneath a door. Layla dipped her head. "Tomorrow then. I wish to practice again if it pleases you." "It would," Isabela said, voice barely above a breath. As Layla disappeared into the corridor's amber glow, Isabela pressed trembling fingers to her lips. Somewhere between Sao Paulo and these glittering sands, her muse had returned, not as a melody or movement, but as a woman she was forbidden to touch. And already, Isabela knew she would risk everything to keep that inspiration burning. Dawn slipped across the palace like rose-gold silk, tinting every marble archway in soft promise. Isabela awoke on a divan in her guest suite, limbs heavy, mind still replaying the feel of Layla's fingers laced with hers. She showered, dragged a comb through stubborn curls, and tugged on charcoal leggings and a loose white tank. Today's schedule brimmed with sponsor luncheons and staging meetings, but all she cared about was the sliver of unclaimed time marked simply, Princess Layla, private rehearsal. By mid-morning the ballroom buzzed with stagehands rigging spotlights and technicians testing floor sensors that would scatter holographic dunes under Isabela's feet. She offered corrections, nodded through lighting cues, yet her thoughts drifted to the princess. Would Layla arrive alone again, or trailed by watchful eyes? When noon heat pressed against the latticed windows, trays of mezzi appeared. Isabela nibbled half a date before wandering outside. Beyond the manicured courtyard lay a rider's paddock. Chestnut horses cantered beneath fluttering Emirati flags. At the far fence stood Layla, abaya exchanged for fitted jodhpurs and a tailored navy jacket, hair twisted into a practical braid. She stroked a grey mare's muzzle, whispering something that made the animal's ears flick and relax. Isabela hesitated only a heartbeat before crossing the sand-dusted path. "She's beautiful," she called. Layla turned, smile blossoming. "Her name is Shamsa, sunlight. She's temperamental but loyal." The princess offered the reins, eyes dancing. "Ride with me." Isabela's laugh escaped before she could tame it. "The last horse I met tried to eat my braid. I'm a dancer, not an equestrian." Layla's gaze softened. "Balance is balance. I'll guide you." Without waiting for refusal, she swung into the saddle and extended a gloved hand. Isabela felt palace cameras on them, but desire outweighed caution. She grasped Layla's wrist, mounted behind, arms sliding instinctively around the princess's waist. They set off at a gentle trot along the perimeter track. Sand lifted in lazy swirls. The skyscrapers shimmered like a distant fleet of glass ships. Every movement of Shamsa's muscles traveled through Layla's spine into Isabela's chest. The rhythm felt like a private heartbeat they shared. They circled once, twice, until Layla reined in beneath a lone gaff tree, its branches sighing in hot wind. For a moment neither spoke. Distant construction cranes ticked like metronomes. Finally Layla said, voice hushed, "When I watch you dance, it feels like freedom I've never known, like wind off the sea I read about but rarely taste." Isabela's mouth went dry. "You, who can gallop at sunrise and command an empire, feel caged?" Layla's shoulders lifted, brittle. Walls are not always stone. Sometimes they are expectations stitched into skin long before birth. Isabela tightened her hold. "Tell me what lives outside those walls." Layla turned just enough for their cheeks to brush. "Perhaps, a world where I choose my own music." Her hand slid over Isabela's atop her stomach, fingers weaving. Heat shot through Isabela's veins, brighter than desert noon. Hoofbeats approached. An escort patrol. Quickly Layla guided Shamsa back toward the paddock, propriety clotting the space between their bodies. By the time the guards reached them, Isabela had dismounted, brushing sand from her leggings as if nothing at all had happened. Afternoon rehearsal resumed in the sun-dappled studio. Musicians adjusted new arrangements while Isabela drilled core dancers from Dubai's national troupe. She was explaining a syncopated accent when she felt Layla's gaze through the mirrored wall. The princess sat alone on a low bench, Abaya returned, hands folded demurely, but her eyes burned with memory of shared saddle heat. During a break Layla approached with 2 chilled bottles of rosewater. They slipped behind a curtain near the costume racks, the scent of fresh silk thick around them. "I have news," Layla murmured. "My father has invited foreign dignitaries to the gala. Among them, Prince Omar of Muscat." Her voice wavered on his name. Isabela understood instantly. Rumors of a strategic betrothal had circulated for years. "He expects you to meet him," she guessed. Layla nodded. "Tonight, at the welcoming banquet. My debut, as potential bride." She tried for a smile. It crumbled. "I thought I had time. Now everything feels accelerated, like dunes collapsing beneath a storm." Isabela's pulse hammered. "What do you need from me?" "For one evening," Layla whispered, stepping closer. "Show me how it feels to choose my own path." Their breaths mingled, jasmine and rosewater. Isabela lifted trembling fingers to tuck a stray curl behind Layla's ear, just as the curtain swished open. Amira, Layla's younger cousin and chief lady-in-waiting, froze. Her gaze flicked from Isabela's raised hand to the princess's flushed cheeks. "Your Highness," she said, voice polished ice. "The wardrobe master is ready for your banquet fitting." Layla straightened. "Thank you, Amira. I'll come shortly." The attendant's disapproval lingered even after she withdrew. Isabela exhaled. "That looked complicated." Layla's lips curved sadly. "She loves me, but loves duty more." She glanced toward the door. "Tonight, after the banquet, meet me on the west rooftop. Midnight." Her fingers brushed Isabela's wrist, featherlight. "Promise you'll come." "I'll be there," Isabela breathed. Night draped the palace in velvet heat. Chandeliers blazed over banquet tables loaded with saffron rice, grilled ham hour, jeweled pomegranates. Isabela, relegated to the artist's mezzanine, watched Layla glide through diplomats like an untouchable moon. The princess wore an emerald gown, shoulders bare, diamond dust veil cascading down her back. At her side walked Prince Omar, tall, polished, smiling with royal certitude. Every time Layla laughed at his remarks, her gaze skirted the crowd, searching. When it found Isabela, once, twice, the jolt traveled clear across the hall. Music rose. Ceremonial dancers performed a sword routine Isabela had helped choreograph hours earlier. Applause thundered. Mingling resumed, but tension crackled underneath. Prince Omar leaned in, whispering. Layla's answering smile looked practiced, distant. Midnight couldn't come fast enough. At 11:57, Isabela slipped out a servant's stairwell into balmy night. The west rooftop garden overlooked the city, infinity pool reflecting constellations. Fronds rustled in a rare sea breeze. She waited, heartbeat pacing seconds. Midnight tolled from a distant minaret bell. Another minute. Doubt pricked. Had duty triumphed? Then the terrace door eased open. Layla emerged wrapped in a simple sand-colored shawl, hair unbound, eyes bright with urgency. Without words she crossed to Isabela, hands sliding to cup the dancer's jaw. Their mouths met, soft, startled, then fierce. Wind whipped Layla's braid across Isabela's cheek. Fireworks from a yacht party bloomed red over the gulf, casting their faces in momentary, illicit daylight. They broke apart, laughing breathlessly. "I've never kissed anyone outside my bloodline's approval," Layla confessed, forehead resting against Isabela's. "It feels terrifying." And right. Isabela's palms found the small of Layla's back. "We write our own choreography, remember?" Before Layla could answer, the terrace door slammed open. Amira burst forth, flanked by a palace security officer. Her horror splayed across her refined features. "Your Highness, the banquet concluded 15 minutes ago. Your father seeks you." Her gaze speared Isabela. "And you are dismissed from this wing immediately." Layla stepped between them. "Amira, please. Princes are waiting. Rumors already coil through the hallways." Amira's voice sliced the night. "Do not risk everything for a fleeting fantasy." Isabela's chest tightened, but she kept her voice steady. "I'll go," she said, eyes locked on Layla. "Tomorrow's rehearsal, same time." Layla's fingers brushed hers in silent promise before guards escorted Isabela toward the stairwell. As she descended, voices carried from above. Amira's measured scolding, Layla's low insistence, until a door shut and silence fell. Isabela paused on the landing, hand gripping the rail. In the hush she heard her own heartbeat echo down the marble spine of the palace. Threats loomed, family, tradition, the hungry gaze of the press. But under the weight of them all, the memory of Layla's kiss blazed like a secret sunrise. And secrets, she knew, have a way of demanding to be seen. Morning broke in a bleached hush that felt too clean, too empty, as if the rooftop kiss had been scrubbed from the palace in the night. Isabela woke in her suite to the tap-tap of rain against tall windows, rare desert drizzle, quick to vanish. On the hallway carpet she found an envelope without seal or stamp. Inside, a single rose petal and a note in careful English. "Tonight, horse stables. After final rehearsal." The handwriting was Layla's. Relief flashed, then dread. After being marched away by security, Isabela had half expected a one-way ticket back to Brazil. Instead, her phone vibrated with a new calendar invite. Full company run-through on the grand stage at 2 o'clock mandatory. No mention of discipline, no guards at her door. Yet the silence felt coiled, watchful. Backstage that afternoon, the gala space resembled a small city. Lady Dunes rolled across a circular floor. Scent cannons whispered oud into the air. Drapery crews dangled like spiders from catwalks. Isabela called warm-ups, voice more brittle than usual. Dancers sensed the tension and moved with extra crispness, as though precise angles could placate unseen eyes. Above, in the royal box, she spotted Sheikh Khalid flanked by advisors, stern, unreadable, and beside him, Princess Layla in a sapphire suit, posture perfect, gaze directed anywhere but down at Isabela. The run-through began. Percussion thundered, sea blue holograms burst, and Isabela lost herself in counts and cues. Halfway through the fusion finale, her proudest creation, power cut without warning. Darkness swallowed the hall. Gasps pinballed off marble walls. Someone shouted for generators. Emergency lights flicked on, weak and greenish, revealing confusion on every face. A production manager sprinted across the floor, radio crackling. Transformer blown, likely sabotage, technicians scrambling. Isabela's stomach tightened. This gala was tomorrow. Failure would humiliate the royal family and by extension Layla. And if any whisper linked the malfunction to the dancer who'd stolen a forbidden kiss, she took charge before doubt could metastasize. Flashlights were gathered, battery speakers rigged, dancers reordered. Within 20 minutes, she restarted the finale to prove the piece could survive any disaster. Sweat streamed off foreheads, feet pounded unamplified stage, and when the last pose hit, applause erupted from crew and orchestra alike. From the royal box came a single echoing clap. Layla's, slow and deliberate. Sheikh Khalid lifted one eyebrow, said something to an aide, and left without watching the bows. Rehearsal dismissed. Isabela showered, shoved damp clothes into her duffel, and slipped through service corridors toward the stables. Rain had stopped. Night air carried petrichor and horse musk. The stable yard was dim, lit only by low lanterns. Layla waited between stalls, shawl hooded, shadowed by the restless grey mare Shamsa. At first glance she looked composed, but her fingers clenched the reins hard enough to whiten knuckles. "They cut the power," Layla said without preamble. "Father thinks it was a message from rivals angry about modernization. But Amira, she suspects me. Us." Isabela touched her arm. "We did nothing wrong except feel alive." Layla's laugh was small and hoarse. "In this world that is exactly the wrong thing." She glanced around, then pressed a data card into Isabela's palm. "I booked you a car to Abu Dhabi Airport after the performance tomorrow. A charter flight leaves at sunrise for Lisbon. From there you can reach Brazil or anywhere." Her voice cracked. "It is the only way I can protect you." Cold spread through Isabela's chest. "Run away. And leave you to marry a stranger. That protects no one. Staying could end your career, or worse." Layla stepped close, forehead to Isabela's. "I will dance our finale beside you tomorrow. After curtain, cameras will swarm. My father cannot cause scandal while the world watches. While he negotiates optics, you disappear safely." Isabela shook her head. "I didn't come here to flee. I came to rediscover passion, and I found you. I won't trade that for exile." Hoof scrape, distant thunder of cars on the motorway, the mare's warm breath between them. Layla closed her eyes. "Then we must burn brighter than their fear. One perfect blaze before the dunes reclaim us." A sudden crunch of gravel snapped them apart. Amira strode from the shadows, phone raised. Her eyes glinted like tempered steel. "Your Highness, the Security Council meets in 10 minutes. They await your input on tomorrow's seating chart." She pocketed the phone without breaking gaze. "Miss Costa, palace vehicles stand ready to escort you back to the city hotel." Isabela opened her mouth, but Layla squeezed her hand. One heartbeat, a pulse of defiance, then released her. "Thank you, Amira. I will join them." The ride to Dubai felt twice as long as the trip in. Neon skylines blurred behind the window. Each tower reflected Isabela's tired face, split by passing streetlights. Her suite at the artist's hotel was luxurious, but loneliness seeped from its corners. She paced until dawn tinged the curtains, practicing steps barefoot on Persian carpet, whispering counts like prayers she no longer believed in. Gala day. Backstage hum matched the roar of VIP arrivals outside. Red carpet commentary boomed on monitors. Hashtags flooded social feeds. Rumors of sabotage had already trended overnight, framing the gala as a triumph over adversity. The crown prince of a neighboring kingdom, movie stars, tech titans. Everyone wanted a seat at the comeback. Isabela checked costumes, hugged tremulous core dancers, then retreated to an empty hallway. She found her reflection in a smoked glass panel. Eyes brighter than fear, spine straight as the bar she'd clung to at 6 years old. Whatever tonight brought, she would not dance small. Call time echoed. House lights dimmed. The overture began, strings shimmering like heat haze. Act by act, cultures intertwined. Khaleeji footwork with capoeira flips. Oud melodies woven into samba rhythms. Cheers mounted. Mid-show, Isabela glimpsed Layla at stage right, waiting for her principal duet. The princess wore a flame-colored gown slit for movement, hair unbound, expression radiant. Their duet started as mirror steps. Layla's restrained grace against Isabela's fluid fire, then collided in lifts that drew gasps. Every contact crackled. Palm to palm, shoulder to hip, spin to cradle. In the climactic phrase, Isabela vaulted. Layla caught her mid-air, and they froze in a tableau of perfect trust while holographic dunes burst into aurora across the arena ceiling. For 3 suspended seconds the world belonged only to them. Then applause detonated. Isabela bowed, chest heaving. Layla curtsied, eyes wet. Behind footlights, cameras flashed like meteors. The moment was already flying across social feeds. Curtain call thundered. Petals rained from rigging. Sheikh Khalid stepped on stage to present commemorative medals. He pinned one on Isabela last, murmuring, "Your artistry honors our nation." His voice held no warmth, but neither did it condemn. When he turned to Layla, medal in one hand, an aide rushed forward and whispered urgently. A phone screen lit the sheik's face with cold light. His stare flicked to the 2 women, calculation swirling. Amira appeared, eyes wide with alarm. "News outlets picked up the stable footage," she hissed. "Someone leaked it." The kiss. Gasps rippled through nearby performers. The sheik's jaw set like stone. Instinct told Isabela to back away, but Layla slid her fingers between hers, in full view of every lens. Murmurs erupted. Flashes stuttered like lightning. Layla lifted their joined hands toward the audience. A silent declaration. Sheikh Khalid's stare blazed, but he faced a sea of smartphones and delegates from half the world. To punish his daughter now would ignite a scandal too big for any dynasty to smother. After an eternity, he lowered the medal onto Layla's neck, then turned and extended a second identical medal toward Isabela. "May courage guide the future," he said for microphones to record, voice ringing calm. Crowd applause surged, but tension coiled beneath. As the anthem played, security converged discreetly around the royals. Layla whispered, "The world is watching. Walk beside me into the reception. We hold the narrative until dawn." Isabela nodded, squeezing her hand. Beneath chandeliers and satellite feeds they stepped forward together, uncertain of what the next hour, the next day, the next lifetime would bring, only sure that retreat was no longer possible. A cyclone of flashbulbs chased Isabela and Layla from the gala stage straight into the reception atrium, where a 2-story waterfall crashed behind tempered glass and news crews buzzed like hornets. Palace handlers tried corralling microphones, but every reporter wanted the same soundbite. Are the rumors true? Is the princess engaged to a Brazilian choreographer? Layla answered with poised silence, her hand anchored to Isabela's as if any loosened grip might snap the fragile thread holding their world together. Bronzed diplomats applauded the evening's cultural triumph, though their sideways glances measured scandal against oil contracts. Tech CEOs vied for selfies, banking that tomorrow's headline might mint them ally status in a newly minted love story. Sheikh Khalid finally emerged, flanked by advisors and bodyguards. The reception's chatter hushed to a nervous tremor. His gaze swept the room, landing not on his daughter but on the ocean of smartphones aimed at him. In that beat of suspended air, the sheik seemed to weigh century-old expectations against the algorithmic reach of a billion screens. Then he surprised everyone. "Art," he declared, voice resonant, has reminded us that courage crosses borders. Cameras stuttered. Tonight my daughter and Ms. Costa have shown bravery. Tomorrow we will show progress. He raised a glass. 2 new steps. Applause detonated. Some genuine, some desperate to follow the wind. Layla's fingers tightened around Isabela's, tremor fierce. The sheik's words bought them time, but behind the veneer of toast and crystal clinks lurked backhall negotiations, silent phones vibrating with outrage, and a flurry of policy memos authored before dessert. Hours later, long after dignitaries shuffled to motorcades, Layla summoned Isabela to her private study in the palace's older wing. The room smelled of cedar and dusted books. Maps of equestrian trade routes hung beside quantum physics sketches. Layla paced between moonlit shelves. "Father will speak again at dawn," she said, voice raw. "He's offering me a choice. I can renounce succession, formalize it tomorrow, and live however I please. Or I can remain heir and marry Omar within the year." He stopped. "He expects an answer by sunrise." Isabela's pulse throbbed in her throat. "And what do you want?" she asked. Layla faced her. "I want a life that's mine. I want mornings that begin without press briefings, nights that end with sand in my hair because Shamsa dragged us across dunes at midnight." She moved closer, every word a confession. But stepping aside means surrendering influence that could change things for the people who can't walk away. Isabela brushed Layla's cheek with trembling fingers. "Influence built on self-betrayal crumbles. Influence born from honesty can rebuild stronger." A long breath. "If you stay and marry, the country gets a queen who knows the cost of silence. If you leave, they see a princess who chose truth over power. Either way, you change the story. But only one path keeps you breathing in color." Layla closed her eyes. A decision settled across her like dawn's first chill. She reached into a lacquered box on the desk and withdrew a scroll. Her succession authorization already drafted. "Will you ride with me to father before sunrise?" Pink light bled over the desert when Shamsa's hooves drummed the marble forecourt. Isabela rode pillion again, arms wrapped around Layla's waist, air cool enough to raise gooseflesh. Guards parted without command. News crews had not yet reassembled. The sheik waited alone on a terrace, robes whipped by the breeze like sails. Layla dismounted, handed Shamsa's reins to Isabela, and approached her father. No microphones recorded the conversation, only the hush of wind and distant engine hum. Isabela couldn't hear exact words, but she watched body language. Layla's shoulders square but respectful, Khalid's jaw flexing, then softening as she unrolled the scroll. He glanced over it, eyes narrowing, then lifted his gaze past his daughter, to Isabela, steady by the restless horse. The sheik's sigh carried decades of dynastic weight. Finally he uncapped a fountain pen and signed. Layla returned, tears bright but unshed. "It's done," she breathed. "I am no longer heir. I'm simply Layla Khalid Al Nahyan, citizen." She swallowed, relief and grief interlaced. "Father asks that we leave Dubai quietly for a time. The palace will frame it as a sabbatical to pursue cultural diplomacy. In truth, it lets reforms brew while gossip cools." Isabela kissed her knuckles. "Where to first?" Layla's smile glimmered. A sunrise accepting itself. "Anywhere our feet remember how to dance." 3 weeks later, Lisbon's sky burned cobalt over the Teatro de Trindade. Posters lined tram stops. Fusion in Motion, one night only, featuring Isabela Costa and Layla Khalid. Inside the refurbished opera house, journalists buzzed about the princess who abdicated for art. Protesters and supporters shared sidewalks, their chants tangling into white noise. Backstage, Layla wrapped gauze around her arches. Dancers' ritual learned at breakneck pace. Isabela adjusted lighting cues with local techs, heart leaping each time Layla tested a spin that 2 months ago seemed impossible. Minutes before curtain, Amira appeared. She'd flown in as Layla's newly appointed cultural attaché, her once steel expression tempered by reluctant admiration. Dubai announced a council to review personal status laws, she told Layla, voice low. Your father cited your example of authenticity as inspiration. A ghost of a smile. Change starts with fractures no one dares seal. Layla touched Amira's hand. Olive branch accepted, then joined Isabela in the wings. House lights dimmed, audience roar swelling. Isabela brushed Layla's jawline, grounding them both. Ready. Layla exhaled. For everything. The overture began. Not the gala's orchestral bombast but a pared-down duet, oud layered over a single cavaquinho. They stepped onto the darkened stage, silhouettes fused, then separated into mirrored arcs. Isabela's movements carried Brazil's joyous swagger. Layla's unfolded with desert poise she'd once hidden behind protocol. Midway, they clasped hands, pivoted through a lift unrehearsed until that instant. Layla airborne, trust absolute, spotlight catching the arc of her shawl like wings. The theater erupted, clapping in time, stamping feet. When the final chord trembled into silence, the dancers froze forehead to forehead, sweat damp and smiling. The curtain fell, but applause kept rising, a tide that refused retreat. They bowed again and again until house lights flooded, turning stage and seats into a single glowing plane where strangers cheered love taking shape. Later, in a quiet dressing room perfumed with lilies, Layla sat on the floor, back against Isabela's knees. Outside, fans sang, trams clanged, nightlife bloomed. Inside, time slowed to the hum of an aging ceiling fan. Layla tipped her head back. Where do we go tomorrow? Isabela twined a curl around her finger. Rio wants the show, Madrid offered a residency, Toronto sent grant papers. But I vote we chase monsoon season in Bali first. Teach village kids, borrow temple courtyards for rehearsals. Layla grinned, eyes sparking. Then Bali. She stood, cupped Isabela's face. Where you dance, I find home. Their kiss tasted of stage lights and salt and possibility. A phone vibrated. Push notification after notification exploding. Viral video. Princess turned performer ignites global movement. #Dance Without Borders trended in 47 countries before midnight. Isabela silenced the device, pressing it face down. The world can wait. They stepped onto the balcony, Lisbon's rooftops rolling toward the Tagus River, moonlight dappling tiles like scattered petals. In the hush between city bells, Layla rested her head on Isabela's shoulder. Below, fans lit sparklers, sending tiny constellations skyward. Wind off the Atlantic lifted Layla's shawl. Isabela caught it, wrapping them both in threadbare cotton smelling faintly of desert nights long gone. A ship's horn sounded from the harbor, a low, beckoning note. Layla squeezed Isabela's hand. First dunes, now waves. Every horizon feels different with you. Isabela kissed her temple. That's the promise of forward motion. We never step into the same story twice. Together they watched the sparks fade into the warm Portuguese darkness, ready for whatever turning rhythms waited beyond the edge of dawn.